Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History Avec Hemingway. I'm back with Claudine, and today we're going to teach you how to save some money when you're coming to France. Claudine's got all the best tips and tricks to save you a couple bucks or even more, and I'm going to let Claudine take it from here.
Yeah, everybody always says that Paris is like one of the most expensive cities in the world, but I think compared to some cities like San Francisco or New York, I don't think it is, and it doesn't have to be. You could come here and not basically blow your life savings to come to Paris for a week.
Exactly. You can find ways to save money.
Lots of ways. The first way is, of course, how you get here. So to get here, you're obviously going to need to take a flight unless, you are in London and you could just take the channel on over. But to do the flights since in the last year and a half, since kind of COVID, was waning down, the flights skyrocketed. I think especially this year. Luckily, I'm not really looking for flights back and forth to the US anymore, but it's definitely, I used to be able to find them around $700. That was if it was a really cheap ticket from the West Coast, it was around $700. Now I think it's double that.
Yeah, it's definitely jumped hugely. We've all seen that.
Yeah, it's been really expensive. But right now, so if you're listening to this right now in November, there are a ton. I actually get a ton of different emails and subscribe to a bunch of different things that kind of lets me know about the prices of flights. And there's a lot of deals right now, this time of the year, especially because tourism is down. The hotels are down. Not as many people are flying, except for the holidays. So you kind of want to avoid dates that are going around Christmas. If you decide to come like early December, stay for a month, fly back after the beginning of January, and you could find amazing deals. And also through like April. Pretty much April is kind of the mark of where it starts to change for the summer. But you can find tons of deals. There's a great thing that I love. There's an app and a website called Skyscanner, and it is the greatest. You could go on there and say, okay, these are the dates I want to fly to Paris or wherever you're going. Put those in there and then select a bunch of them to watch. You click on the little heart, and then it'll send you messages every day. It'll say like, this one went down. I used to do that. And I would sometimes, one time I was in a meeting in my old job. I got a message that said your flight just dropped $200, and I got up and ran to the bathroom, and the stall was buying my ticket.
Yeah, because I love Skyscanner too. It's the only way I book flights, and it's really cool when you can just open the calendar and it shows you all the prices for each day even.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's days of the week that are cheaper. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are cheaper. Sometimes Saturday is a cheaper day. You want to avoid the Friday, Sundays, and sometimes Monday, because that's when a lot of people are going back and forth in those midweek days. If you could be flexible with your time, definitely do like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are usually the less expensive days. Also, now with the loyalty programs and everything, I got to the point that I was flying over to Paris so much that I just stuck with Delta, which is also Air France, which is another good trick. See what your American airline, who they partner with, because if you do come up frequently, back up, and start building up those miles, because not only, you'll get down the road, you could be able to get a whole free ticket.
Exactly. And like what you said about the partner thing is so interesting too, because like all the time, like, oh, Air France is so nice to fly on, but so is Delta. And now we know why, because they together.
And you could book it through the Delta website, and then it'll say Delta, it'll say Air France run by Delta. I love Air France, and I know you do too, because they're so great about dogs.
Yep, exactly. Coco always flies Air France.
He's a silver member.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no rules anymore. I have a friend of mine that he is always trying to find the least expensive ticket he could possibly find. And there used to be these rules of, buy things on Tuesday, travel Tuesday, or, the Tuesday after Black Friday used to be the day to have the tickets. And nowadays with the internet, all of that stuff is out the window. In the last like 4 years, all of those rules are out the window. There's no sweet spot on buying a ticket. They don't really release tickets until sometimes 8 months out. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to come in a year, let me get my ticket now. Sometimes that's just not even an option.
Yeah.
Um, so those are, there's really no rule anymore. A friend of mine, a French friend of mine was like, oh no, you go online at like 3 in the morning because then the prices are less. So everybody has their own little trick that they believe in.
Like a little superstition.
A little superstition, but do it, whatever you need to do to find that ticket. But if you're gonna come in the winter or up until the beginning of, or mid-spring, now's a really good time because the tickets are less, hotels are going to be cheaper, everything's going to be cheaper.
Definitely. I love the fall. It's the best time. Everyone's back to work and school. It's a great time to come. The weather's still nice, except today is like a tornado outside.
Oh my gosh, it was in the middle of the night. Woke us up. I was like, what is happening between the rain and I have skylights? And so it was just beating down on all the windows.
Oh gosh. It's a lot.
And it's pretty windy right now. So hopefully nobody could hear the wind banging against everything. But it is, but that is another good thing. Usually when you fly into Paris, it'll say, like from the West Coast, it's like a 10.5 hour flight. I would always, especially if you fly in the morning, I'd always get in at like 45 minutes to an hour early because of the wind.
Yeah, it pushes you.
It pushes you in and you usually arrive even earlier. When it comes to the flights, I always love it that I would arrive first thing in the morning. It kind of just depends. If you're a West Coaster, that's kind of your option because you have to, depending on where you're coming from, LA, San Francisco, some of those big hubs have direct flight Seattle. But a lot of times it's a long day to travel. And for our people, our friends in Australia, I don't ever understand how they could do that for, like 26 hours or so it takes to get here. But it's, a lot of times you're going to arrive first thing in the morning. And I always love that because then you have a whole extra day.
Me too. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. But once you get here, then you're going to need to find a place to stay. And so right now, because we have the Olympics coming up here in 8-9 months or so, it's all over, the internet of the prices, and the prices of hotels have like skyrocketed. Sometimes like something that would normally be like 250 euros a night is going up to be like 1,500 euros a night because of the Olympics. It's probably isn't going to be the best time to come. I've heard other people say that they're avoiding even the months, like 3 or 4 months before, 3 or 4 months afterwards. I don't really think you need to do that. The other thing about the Olympics is, yes, there's going to be a ton of people in Paris, but most of the actual sporting events are not in Paris.
Yeah. Yeah.
So most of the things, there's going to be like the triathlon that's going to involve the Seine, which I saw the test one a few months ago, which still kind of creeps me out. People are swimming in the Seine. But some of the stuff is going to happen in the city, but it's actually not going to be very much. So the opening ceremonies will go down the Seine, which is going to be pretty cool to see. But most of the stuff is going to be outside of Paris and also all over France. So it's not, I don't think, I mean, this summer was crazy with the amount of people that were here. It was like basically pre-COVID, but like on steroids. But I mean, there's also a finite amount of people that could actually be here.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. The only thing is the hotel pricing has really gotten jacked up, but if you can find cheaper options, then you're safe.
It is, and the city's actually trying to control that. The other option that I always preferred to do when I would visit, because when if you're going to come to Paris and you're only going to be here 5 or 6 days, then, a hotel is a great idea. But when I would come, because I would come for weeks at a time, I was went through an Airbnb. Some people, I know some people that have had nothing but horror stories every time they've stayed in the Airbnb. I always thankfully had very good luck, except for the one time the ceiling started leaking in the middle of the night. But it's a good economical way to do it. You could find things that could get you down to 50, 70 euros a night to stay, if you're going to be here for a long time. Also, if you're going to come here and you want to spend even longer, there's a 28-day window on Airbnb that when you put in your dates past 28 days, it will open a whole nother basically avenue of places. So the apartment that I live in was originally, I stayed in through Airbnb, and they only would rent it for at least 28 days. And usually you get even a better deal that way. They'll
Yeah.
usually give you discounts on it. It gets it down to being like, 50, 60 euros a night, which is pretty great compared to what a hotel is. And it's also nice because then I always felt like, yeah, I'm here for, 6 weeks and I live and this is my apartment and here's my refrigerator and here's my, make sure if you're going to be here for that amount of time. My thing was always make sure it had laundry, like
Hmm.
that I could wash my clothes, and I could do it in the apartment. There's never a dryer.
Yeah.
My apartment right now looks like I hate having to do laundry because everything is just all over the place when you're trying to dry it. But that also is a really great way to save a lot of money when you come. And Airbnb, they are actually trying to control to make sure that people aren't doing something crazy next year with the Olympics coming.
I'm glad they're trying to protect us a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I had that whole thing with my apartment where they were like, well, maybe we actually might need you to leave
Oh,
because
wow.
we might want to rent it. So that's been a stressful 4 months, and now everything's good. When they came over and saw that my apartment's basically a mass of stacks and stacks of books and also shoe boxes, they're like, wow, you're not leaving.
You are living here.
You are here for good. So I thankfully don't have to try to panic and figure out, where I'm going to during the Olympics. So I'm pretty happy about that. But there is some really good deals out there. If anybody is wanting to stay in an Airbnb, contact me because I could give you some tips of, and even help you look. A lot of times people don't know where to stay. If we've talked before about, when women come alone or just, if you're coming with a couple girlfriends and you're a little worried, it's a very safe place. But I always recommend, staying in the center, like, Latin Quarter, Saint Germain is great because there's so many restaurants everywhere. It's very safe. You could walk home at night from dinner at 11 or 12 o'clock at night and feel fine. And it's easy to get everywhere. So being central in the city, especially if it's your first time, is a really good way to do it. And I always would read all of the comments on the Airbnb listings. I would never stay if it was like they have only one comment or it says new listing. I would go deep. Like I looked one time at this apartment and it was like 6 years ago. Somebody said there was a family of mice there, and that's my biggest fear. So I was like, nope. Nobody said anything after that there was any mice in the apartment, but I was like, nope, they said it 6 years ago, will not stay there.
Not even taking a chance.
Not even going to take a chance. But there's lots of great ones out there. I mean, Montmartre is so fantastic where you live, and everybody loves going up there. If you're comfortable with getting around easily, which is what we'll talk about next, then, staying out a little further from the center, it also gets less expensive. So if you want to go into like the 14th or 15th or, 18th, in some areas, it does get a lot less expensive too.
Definitely. And some people even stay like on the, the border, and it's like right next to Paris, but not
Yeah.
technically Paris. So people look at that too, because there are quite a few cities like right bumping against the city.
Yeah, and if you're on like the one of the main metro lines, especially like number one, that's great because it is not it's automatic. And so they don't need an actual conductor, driver, whatever you would call it for the metro. So if there is happen to be a strike at some point, which always happens here, you don't have to worry about it. One always runs because they don't need a body to actually run it.
Exactly. You want those lines that are running themselves, and the metro is quite easy to use. I know a lot of people are intimidated by that, but it's not bad at all.
It's not too bad. And so the next thing is once you're here, getting around. I have a lot of clients that, especially if you have like 4 or 5 people in your family and you don't know where you're going, and, you've got little ones or older ones and they don't want to walk, just get a taxi or an Uber. It's really easy. I like the G7 taxis. There's the Bolt app too. The Bolt's really great. And if you have a bunch of people, then, it could be pretty, it doesn't have to be super expensive, but getting, like we were just saying about the metro, it is so easy. You could go down there, you could still buy the individual tickets. those are supposed to be going away soon, but we just got some the other day. So I thought I saw recently that they were like, that's it, no more tickets. And then we got some.
Yeah, it's each machine or metro is different. Some are like, we won't sell them, and others are like, here you go.
Yeah. But you could also just buy, you could buy the actual pass, you could buy the Navigo pass, and then you just actually reload it on your card. They actually are finally next year, for the Apple phones, they're going to have the app where you could do everything on the app. It's funny to hear they already have it for Android. And so it's funny here because, like, well, not as much anymore, but it used to be all my French friends, none of them had iPhones, and now a lot of them have. But I think there was at one point there was way more Android users in Paris than there were iPhone users.
Yeah, but definitely it's the opposite now.
It's totally the opposite. So they are getting the app. And so when you get here, it'll be super easy. It's coming next sometime 2024. You could download the app. You could buy the tickets on the app, scan with your phone. I do also, I would caution people, hold on to your phone very tightly when you take it out to scan your ticket, because that is where sometimes the scammers like to be, and they like to grab those kinds of things. So that's another little thing. But it's really easy. Most of the metro stations will have like an attendant. So you could go up to the window and buy. Usually they're very crabby.
Yeah.
They're not very nice and they're really crabby, but you could go up there and just buy this little card, and then you could just reload it actually on your phone. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's not that difficult. And I cannot wait until we can do it on our phones. During the pandemic, they did open it up to buy bus tickets on your phone. You send a text to this little number and you can buy a bus ticket with your phone, which is pretty cool. But you can't do it with the Metro Pass still.
It's so funny that, like, there's so many things that are so much farther advanced than even the United States here. And then, but that one, it's like, seriously?
Yeah, the thing we use like every day. It's not
like, how do you not have an app for this? The same goes for, I always say that's the same for the Orsay and the Louvre. Like,
yeah.
you're two of the greatest museums in the world, and there's like piddly little museums in the middle of nowhere that have apps that have all this information, and the Louvre and the Orsay just don't.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's very bizarre. But the best way, I think, to get around Paris is to walk, because it is such a beautiful city. There is so much down every single street. I mean, if you've been listening to us for over 3.5 years now, 170, I think this is like 178 or so. That if you have been listening to us, the best way to see Paris is walking. And I always tell clients that I go, when I plan their trips, I say, you don't want to have your schedule so packed that it's like, okay, get up 8 o'clock breakfast, 8 to 8:30 at this place, or say at 9:30 to 11, then go to the Eiffel Tower, then go do this. Do one big thing scheduled in the morning, one big thing in the afternoon, and then allow all your time to walk to that place. If of course you're well located, to walk to that place, look and see what you find on the street, look up at the buildings, look in windows, look in antique store windows, all of that kind of stuff. And that's the best way to see the city. Plus, you get to walk off all those croissants you're going to eat.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Paris is very small for a capital. It's really easy to walk around, and it's so much prettier than the metro.
I know that's like, oh, it's like, you don't get to see, their buses, the same, Crystal mentioned the texting to get the bus tickets, but it's the same ticket you use for the metro. So you could take the bus, it's going to take a little longer, but you get to actually see the whole city.
Yeah, I actually love the buses. Like you said, sometimes it takes a little longer because they're stuck in traffic, or, they don't come every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're above ground. You can see some things, and some of the routes are really pretty.
Yeah, there's the famous, bus 69 that goes from like the Eiffel Tower all the way out to Père Lachaise.
Yeah, my favorite is the bus number 72. It starts at the Eiffel Tower and goes all the way along the river. So it's like taking a boat tour without the boat. And it stops at the Louvre, it stops at Pont Neuf, it stops at the Ile Saint-Louis. So it's all along the river at all the most historical sites, basically.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, they definitely do that. And it's, just allow that time. That's way better than those hop on, hop off buses.
Yeah, and it only costs like €2 instead of whatever the bus hop-on bus is charging.
Oh yeah, that just, and then you're going to sit on those things forever, and you're going to wait, and then you're going to have to, park. They stopped places and wait for 20 minutes for people to get on. So there's really, and then there's nothing that is worse than seeing the people walking through the streets wearing what looks like a hefty garbage bag over their clothes when it's raining, and you see that on the top of those buses all the time.
Just getting blown away on the top of the bus,
Yeah.
trying to take some pictures.
Yeah, but I think the walking, I think, is the best thing. You could also take you could take us with you. You could take our walks with you. Many of the episodes that we did last year through I think the end of last year and the beginning of this year were ones that basically you could just go to a certain spot, go to my website to go find the information that links to it. I'll tell you basically where to start, and you could just kind of walk through the streets and for free, and listen to us talk about what you are seeing. It's a pretty fantastic way to go.
Definitely. So listen to the podcast, take a walk around Paris. And in the next couple of episodes, we're going to teach you more ways to save money. So definitely tune in to learn more and save a couple bucks on your next trip to France. Thanks for listening today, guys. If you're interested in learning more about Claudine, her tours, history, and the beautiful photographs that she posts all over Instagram, tune into her website, claudinehemingway.com.